Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions, and in this video, it really doesn't even have to do with trading. But I get this question a lot of when I bought my first house, how is it at age 20 that I had enough money for the down payment? And you guys know what it takes to qualify for a house, right? It's your credit, your 2-year work history, and then being able to have enough money to actually put down a down payment to make it attractive for the bank to lend you the money. And what I wanted to cover in this video was the very simple idea of how I was able to save my first $50,000 and what I would do moving forward. And again, 100% this is just based off of my opinion, so please just take it as that. But I think something that people find so attractive about what it is that we do is that how we're able to take a certain amount of money and just continue to grow it. And again, I don't even want to talk about trading because I know trading isn't for everyone. I was just very, very intrigued about the market and what it had to offer, and I saw potential in it, right? And because of that, I continued to learn. I wasn't even making money at a very early age when it came down to trading in the stock market. But one of the things that I was doing is that I knew that I wanted to do well in life. And that doesn't mean that I just only have to be the glorified your own boss and stuff like that. I was really empowered to have a stable income. I knew that I needed money to make money, and it's these very simple things that I think a lot of people overcomplicate. One of the first things that I want you guys to also know is that I pretty much was raised with a father that was very frugal, right? So those values were instilled in me at a very early age. And if you know me personally, you would know that when I would go out to eat with my family and I would take either a friend or a cousin with me, I would make it super apparent that they could only order one thing off the value menu because I just didn't want my dad to have to spend any more money due to someone that I brought along. And again, I wouldn't say that that's probably the best thing or one of the best qualities about me, but I would say that definitely assisted me in being able to save a decent amount of money. And the reason why is because I was so unwilling to spend it. And there's a difference from spending it and investing it, and that's one of the things that I'm going to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the first things that, again, how is it that I saved my first $50,000? I got a job that paid well, right? This is something that, again, my opinion, but I've always tried to empower people to do. And it's the idea of getting a commission-based job. It's a sales-based job, and that was what I was introduced to at a very early age. And it was telecommunication sales. There's so many commission-based jobs now that don't even have to do with you don't even have to be there physically. There's so many different type of sales-based jobs that, not just the traditional cell phone or car dealership, but because of how we've advanced, there's people that work for GoDaddy that literally make 6 figures and they work behind a computer screen, right? There's so many different ways. So if you're interested in commission-based jobs, literally search up right now commission-based jobs in your area. And I think that we can both agree, right, that you need money to make money. And in this story, I'm going to talk to you that one of the biggest reasons that I was able to save $50,000 was definitely because of my stable income and with my very early values that were instilled in me of being frugal. But one of the things that allowed me to continue to stay afloat was the overall idea that, I didn't just save my money and do nothing with it. I had little goals, right, that I was setting for myself when it came down to buying and reselling cars and buying and reselling phones and things online that I really, in my opinion, was not afraid to utilize. When I turned 18, right, my brother introduced me into the idea of buying and reselling cars. And because of that very simple concept, I was able to scale to be able to do this on my own. I think that, again, we can both agree on that. The goal is not to be handheld, to be told what to do every step of the way. It's to understand the general concept of whatever it is that you are doing so you can take those series of best practices, refine it according to your own style, and be able to do it on your own. So for all those that are always trying to look for your day trading strategy, looking for how to buy and resell cars effectively, how to invest in real estate, how to start your own business, if you're always trying to copy someone step by step, I can almost promise you that you will not find success when you do that. You have to be a problem solver. You have to be self-sufficient and self-driven. And if you're not willing to do that, then again, nothing that is worth having comes easy. And if you think that it's going to, then I absolutely just wish you the best. But okay, moving forward, one of the markets that I partook in, and this is one of the main concepts that I wanted to talk about in this video, and it's the idea that people have wall-paying jobs, right? So at this time, I was living at home, right? I was a full-time college student. It was shortly after I graduated from high school, and I was going to college. I had this commission-based job. I worked at T-Mobile, and I pretty much was just saving all my money. Again, I want you guys to understand my position. I did not have to pay for rent, which is something that I understand that not everyone is blessed with, right? I was definitely blessed in that aspect where I didn't have to pay for rent. I really didn't have to pay for food. I didn't eat out very often. And all I really had was like my insurance payment for my car. Everything else was pretty much just going straight to my bank. And with this commission-based job that I had that paid me in the very beginning around $45,000 up to about $60,000 by age 19 to 20 within 2 years. There's no surprise on how I was able to save over $50,000, but it was what I was doing with my money that I thought was the most intriguing. Usually the biggest mistake that I see people make is as they begin to make more, right? So going from, not really having a job to having a job that paid well, where I was making a couple $1,000s a month, there's this thing called income inflation, right? Where you've seen it, right? With your friends where they simply begin to make maybe a little bit more and they instantly begin to spend a little bit more. So there's this kind of like equilibrium of expenditures and then overall income. And that never made sense to me because I always wanted to not just do well, but always do better than the average person. So I just knew that I always just had to do something a little bit better. So I was learning how to trade. I was still buying and reselling cars and, investing in like buying and reselling phones. It was that simple idea that's kept me busy. That really just put my focus in those markets. And what I mean by that is that I was able to take the money that I was making and I was able to utilize that money. So I had a goal of being able to make an extra $1,000 a month buying and reselling phones. So then I would calculate like what's my average profit per iPhone 5S that I would sell, right? And then with my average profit, then how much is it that I need to sell within a month to be able to hit my monthly goal? And it was very little things. It wasn't like I hit the $1,000 mark every single month. There were some months, I remember one of my biggest months when it came down to buying and reselling phones was a little bit over $3,000. I thought that was super impressive because I was absolutely killing it in the job that I had. And again, I'm commission based, so my direct output, my commission checks were great. But on top of that, I was also very proactive when it came down to trying to be the best I could be when it came down to buying and reselling phones and building connections within the space of buying and reselling phones. And there's some months where I would make under $1,000, but there's a month I remember that I made like $3,300 or $3,400, something like that, and it was just so rewarding. Again, I set little goals that really just allowed me to utilize the money that I had, and I was never scared to reinvest that, right? So I would also set a goal like every 2 to 3 months, right? Due to the restriction in California of cars that I could buy and resell, right? I think I was allowed 5 cars within a year to be able to buy and sell in California. And the really cool thing about that is that I'm a huge car guy. So I literally just bought these cars. I made sure that I got an amazing deal where it was worth for it to be one of the 5 cars that I can sell for a profit, so that the margin of profit was attractive enough for it to be worth the time and the money. And I would drive them around. I would enjoy them, and it allowed me to switch cars pretty often. It was something that I was very interested in, and I was making money while doing it. It was that simple. It didn't have to make sense to everyone. A lot of people view cars as like depreciating assets, and I agree that in the general aspect they are. But just like a dealership, right? There's a concept, there's a business model there, and it just means that you have to do it in a much smaller scale, and I had to be a little bit more selective. It made sense to me. I was able to make a couple $1,000s while doing it as well, and I enjoyed the whole process. So from being able to make like $45,000 a year just from my normal job, I was able to make tens of thousands of dollars more because of how I was able to utilize the money that I was making from my normal job and implement it in other markets that I was partaking in. And that's all this video is about, is that I think too many people try to glorify these markets that they might be successful in, and think that if they did it, everyone can do it as well. And I just don't think it works like that. I don't think everyone's wired to be like a true entrepreneur, a true investor, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's very important to make it super apparent to people that at least in the markets that I partake in, you definitely need money to make money. And I'm not here to talk about the getting lucky, or if you have a drop shipping store that just like went viral and it picked up. up, like great, but I don't find those forms of success stories to be very realistic for a lot of people, because again, there's always this form of luck with it. And again, I'm not here to subjugate that or minimize that, but I'm just here to remind people that, you know, it's not about like hoping that you get lucky as well, but to make your own luck, right? Put yourself in a position where my mom would have this saying in Spanish, for those that look, find, right? So if your goal is to save, you know, $10,000, $20,000 for whatever it is, right? Like if you want a down payment for a house, a car, being able to, like, you know, take your family on a trip, set a goal. I was someone at a very early age that was very like goal oriented. A goal is something to work towards, not something that you have to, you know, hit every single time that you set it. Don't be afraid to fail. And I was just trying to do very little simple things that a lot of people weren't doing, right? So I got a normal job at a very early age that paid well, and I was trying to utilize those funds and reinvest them in markets that made sense to me and that I was interested in. Would I suggest those markets for everyone? Heck no. But there's so many other people that invest in other markets that I would never invest in that are still profitable. Does it mean that it's wrong? No, it just means that it's not for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then also, you know, doing the very simple little things like we've said, like save money and don't spend more money than you make, to make sure that you don't just always have to stay afloat, but that you can again begin to utilize the money that you are making in other markets. So when an opportunity does present itself, that you set yourself up for success and that you can actually utilize those funds and then, you know, get lucky and make quicker money that way. Because again, it's no question that you need money to make money, especially in these kind of like lucrative markets where you need to be an action taker. If an opportunity presents itself with a property, with a, you know, investment, right? It's whoever, you know, shows the money first that really gets to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's pretty much it. Again, it's not a fancy story. It's not like oh, you have to do this, you have to partake in the stock market. I understand that the markets that I partake in are not something that are going to be of value for everyone. I was someone that is wired in a certain way that, you know, resonated very well with that market, and I grew a huge passion for it, and it worked well for me, right? I'm here to at least be as real as I can with you guys when it comes down to like stability is super important, and it's very hard to, you know, think about your drop shipping store and how you can scale that when you're so worried about paying next month's rent, right? So I think that one of the best things that you can do is to put yourself in a, you know, position financially that you are stable enough that allows you to think in a creative way, that allows you to, you know, search for other opportunities, that allows you that kind of like leisure time. So maybe learn more about these creative markets, but it's very hard to have time for that when you're so focused on just staying afloat. So I really hope that I earned your thumbs up in this video. If you guys have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to drop them down in the comment section. And ultimately, if you guys have any questions or would like to connect when it comes down to, you know, joining our team for trading in the stock market, feel free to send me a text. I'm going to put my number down below, and all the links are provided for you down below if you guys want to stay connected. So I appreciate you guys' time. Continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.